Claudia. I'm a self-proclaimed bookworm. My boyfriend, not so much. So I started summarizing entire books for him. Dramatic plot twists, romantic betrayals, magical quests, all of it. Basically, he gets the story without reading a single page. And now I'm doing the same for you. Welcome to The Whole Story, the channel where I read the book and then tell you the whole story, literally. Fantasy, romance, literary fiction. If it has yearning, magic, or emotional damage, I've got you covered. I'll tell you the whole story in 30 minutes or less, spoilers included. Yes, I will tell you who dies, who cries, and who should have just gone to therapy. So, if you like books, but you don't have the time to read all of them, or you just want to know what happens without the emotional labor, hit subscribe and let's write some endings together. Yeah, because life's too short to read 700 pages of slow burn, unless you're into it. I kinda am. So, today we're gonna talk about A Court of Thorns and Roses, ACOTAR, for the ones that know about it. It is a fantasy book written by Sarah J. Maas, as you might have heard. And it follows a mortal woman called Farah. I apologize in advance for mispronouncing names, but it happens fantasy world, right? Where we have mortals and fairies, or fae. Thousands of years ago, the mortals were like slaves, and the fairies and the High Lord, they ruled over them. And the mortals were their slaves because they didn't have magic. So the other ones were more powerful, so obviously they ruled. About 500 years ago, there was a big war, and some of the fae, they actually fought on the side of the humans, on the side of the mortals, because they were against the whole slavery thing. And yeah, it was a very bloody war, and it ended with a treaty that it took like 6 mortal queens to forge this treaty. That's the thing that brought the peace. And on the back of this treaty being signed, they built a wall. So this, like, if you imagine like in Europe, you know, like you have the UK and you have like England, then you have Ireland on the side. So imagine we're talking about England, right? So the bottom part of the island has a big wall. So the south, that's the mortal lands, and anything that is on the north is the Fae lands, right? And that whole thing is Prythian. And the other part that, you know, if you consider like Ireland, and then that's another part called Highburn, but we'll get to that point. So we follow the life of Farah, who is a teenager, and she lives with her dad and her 2 sisters. And they are basically really poor. They used to be like high society, and her father was like the prince of the merchants, but turns out he had a lot of debts. Like he put all his stuff like in the ships, and the ship sank in the sea, so he lost all his money. And he owed a lot of people money, so they came to collect. They took everything, and they shattered his knee for good measure. So basically, he had no way to support his family. His wife died at some point as well. And then the 2 sisters, so that's Nesta and Elaine, they didn't really care. They didn't know how to do anything. Nesta's older sister, but she also didn't care. So Farah is the one who had to step up and take care of the family. So this girl, she is having a hard life. She taught herself how to hunt at 14 because that's when they ran out of money and they ran out of food. So she's been hunting dinner for her family ever since then. I think she's 18 or 19 at this point. She hunts, takes care of her family, everything. And they're not very nice about it. Like, they don't really appreciate her or anything. So she has a hard life. Then one day she's out in the woods in the winter, and she's starving, of course. And then she sees this big, big wolf. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna try to kill this animal. The bow and arrow are her thing, you know, think Katniss Everdeen from Hunger Games. And she shoots the arrow, she kills the big wolf, and then she skins him and takes him home and then sells it for parts. And she's like, well, you know, like, I feel bad for killing such a big, beautiful animal, but at the same time, I need to feed my family, so no regrets. A couple of days later, this huge beast enters their home, this small cabin, right? Think Beauty and the Beast. Comes in, smashes through the door. Who did it, you murderers? And he starts screaming and everything, and they're like, what? And the dad is like himself, and the sisters are like, oh my god, what is happening? And Farah is the only one that is like, I gotta protect my family. Turns out the wolf was actually Faye from the other side of the wall, and he was actually a friend of this guy. So that makes Farah a murderer, because she killed someone, which goes against the treaty that they signed 500 years ago. And she's like, okay, fine, like, you're gonna kill me. He's like, no, there's another option. Instead of me killing you, it can be like a life for a life, but I don't have to kill you. I can just take you as prisoner. So you're going to serve me for the rest of your life. That's the treaty. That's the bargain. There's no other solution. Her family is like crying, but also like, what is happening? So she leaves. And this guy that at this point is still a beast, takes her, puts her to sleep so she doesn't know the way, and he takes her to the wall. There are specific points where you can cross the wall to his court, which is the spring court. So a lot of flowers, a lot of spring gardens vibes. He takes her to his home that's like a manor. Yeah, she's not happy. No, not at all. Like she sees herself as a slave, as a prisoner. She wants to go back because she knows that her family will not survive without her. She's scared because she doesn't know, like, what are they thinking? Will they try to come after her? Are they going to die trying to cross the wall? Like, everyone knows that the fairies are bad and that they are so powerful and that they just treat the humans like trash and they just take advantage of them. So she's scared for her family. She can't enjoy her life. So she finds herself in this beautiful, beautiful mansion, in a beautiful, beautiful court where everything is amazing and beautiful because we're in the fairyland, and she can't enjoy any of it. And he's not very nice to her either. At this point, like, he has turned into his human form, he shapeshifts, but he wears a mask over his head, just like everybody else in the court. So the people that are working in the house and the people that are in the streets, they're all having this mask. And she doesn't understand why. So we find out that this guy's name is Tamlin. We also find out that he's not just a fae, but he's a high lord, which is like royalty. Prythian is divided into 7 courts. So there's spring, summer, winter, autumn, night, day, and I forgot the last one. Light and dark, something like that. And he is the High Lord of the Spring Court. She is kind of trapped at home at the beginning, you know, but then she starts to realize that she has the freedom, she can go around. He just tells her to be careful, to not go out by herself, etc. She quickly realizes that there's something wrong in the court, but no one really talks openly, but there's like this blight that they keep referring to. But like there's some flowers dying and things like that. There's some reference to his powers not being strong. There's the fact that everyone has this mask, you know, so then we realize that there's a curse, an enemy. It's a she that they don't name her. Everyone's kind of scared of her and they've been told that they can't say anything. That's why she's like not getting a lot of answers because it's all secret. It's part of the curse. At some point, she traps this magical creature called the Suriel to get some answers, and she gets a lot of like enigma, riddles kind of thing, but the one thing he tells her is like, you have to stay close to Tamlin. Stay close to the High Lord and everything will be fine. But that's it. Throughout this thing, so obviously she starts hating this guy. You know, he's like the big bad beast that came and wrecked her and took her away from her like not nice family and gave her a life of a princess with a lot of food and nothing to do. And so obviously she hates his guts. But at some point, she does start to understand him and they talk more. They spend a couple of lovely evenings, you know, like he lets her go out with his emissary called Lucian, who hates her and doesn't treat her very nicely either. And they have these nice walks and they go with the horse. They spend a night at a glen and it's beautiful and so romantic. And she starts to appreciate that, you know, he's a person that cares for his court and he wants to take care of everyone. So they do connect on that point because they both feel the burden of having to take care of others and having others depend on you. And there is a point where they really like have a bit of a romantic moment when he says like, it's the first time that someone understands my burden, you know, and that I'm not alone in this. So it's really nice. So she's spending her time, you know, going around with Lucian or with Tamlin when he's there. She's painting, she's a painter, and she didn't really have time to paint when she was, you know, being a hunter and trying to find food for dinner, but now she has nothing to do with her life, so she's painting and having fun. Pause here for drink. At some point, there's a big event that is the Fire Night, which they call Kalenmai, and she's told very specifically, do not leave the house, like you have to stay in. We're gonna go, there's gonna be the Fire Night, there's gonna be the Great Rite, but you have to stay home. Guess what? She leaves. Something is pulling her to go out. So she goes out, and this is when she meets another High Lord called Resend, and he's the High Lord from the Night Court. And she meets him and she's very intimidated by him and he's kind of scary, you know, and he's all like, there you are, I've been looking for you, you know, and he ends up saving her from some fairies that were trying to attack her. So he saves her and everything, and he wants to find out who she is. She doesn't say anything, and then he leaves. Lucian finds her. He's like, what are you doing here? You can't be here. And she's like, why? Like, there's nothing happening. He's like, well, the Great Rite is basically when Tamlin has to I'm sorry, but he has to have sex with a female from the court. Their union is going to regenerate the magic to their court. So Lucian finds her, tells her, like, you can't be here. If he smells you, he's going to want you to be his mate, and that's not going to be a nice thing, so you need to go home right away. She goes home, but it's too late. Tamlin did smell her in his beast form, and he tracks her down. And this is the first scene where we have like a sexual tension. So this is when I think she finally starts to realize that, first of all, she doesn't hate him, and she has some sort of lust for him because she does feel the attraction for him. So Kalamai ends, and because Rhysand had met Farah that night, he actually comes back to the mansion, to the Spring Court a few days later. Tamlin and Lucian are terrified. They do not want this guy to find her, and then we find out it's because he's actually with the bad one, with the enemy, with the she that we're talking about. They don't want him to know about Farah because they know that he's just going to tell the enemy. So they try to hide her, but Rhysand, he actually finds her. Then Tamlin actually begs him not to say anything to her, and he's like, well, get on your knees and beg, and then I won't. And Tamlin actually does it. So you can see that there's some tension here. They really hate each other. Tamlin thinks that Rhysand is a really bad guy that is torturing people. Everyone in the Night Court are bad people. It's a whole thing. This action, this scene, causes him to understand that Farah is never going to be safe. Because, there's been, at this point, there's been 3 attacks on her life. So he's like, Farah, you need to go. At this point, they've also started to admit their feelings for each other a little bit. They have a date at some point. They go swimming in the lake. He shows her what magic is like so she can see what he sees and feel what he feels. So it's this whole thing, so she's really starting to fall in love with him. He also likes her, and they do kiss. There is a whole moment. After this whole thing with Rhysand happens, he's like, you need to go home, because if you're here, people are just going to keep coming back, and they're going to try to attack you, and they're going to try to kill you and hurt you because of me. So you need to go because I care too much about you. And she's like, what about the treaty? He's like, it's okay, the treaty. You need to go. They have a beautiful last night where they make love, and it's very romantic. And she's really like, I don't want to leave him. If this is what he thinks I have to do, then this is it. And he actually ends up telling her, I love you. And she wants to say it back, but she has trust issues, and she's all thorny and dark and whatever. So she doesn't. She holds back and she doesn't say it. And she goes back home. She finds out that actually no one was worried at all, because when Tamlin took her away, he glamored them. He has magic, he has powers. So he glamored them to believe that she had been taken by an aunt, a rich aunt that lives across the ocean or whatever, and that had taken her to help take care of her, something like that. So they were not worried. But then after being home for a little while, she realizes I do love Tamlin. There's something wrong, something is happening, and I need to help. So she tells some of the story back to her sisters and everything, and they tell her yeah, you should go. So she gets back on a horse. She tries to go through the wall. She manages, which is good, I guess. And then she goes back to the Spring Court, and everyone is gone. That's when she finally has a conversation with one of her servants that tells her the she that they talk about is actually Amarantha. So she used to be one of the commanders for one of the bad guys. So remember when I said the Ireland part? That's Hybern. So there is a king of Hybern. In Prythian, they're all high lords, and they all equally share power over different areas. But in Hybern, there's a king because he's I'm all powerful, and he's super against mortals. He used to have all the slaves, really bad, was not a fan of the treaty. And it was all really bad. So he's the true villain of the story. So about 100 years ago, he sent some of his emissaries and commanders to infiltrate the courts. And one of these people was Amarantha. So she went there. They all learned a lot of things. And when they knew when he gathered all the information that he wanted, he sent them back. So this was 50 years ago. But Amarantha had her own plans. So it turns out Amarantha has a bit of a bone to pick, because when it was the whole war thing, her sister, Cleithia, fell in love with a human, Jurian. And she actually started to help Jurian, but then turns out that Jurian was just playing her. He actually had his own lover, human girl that he loved. And he was just playing Clethia to get intel and to betray her. So when he did betray her, Amarantha was really, really mad, and she swore that she would, like, you know, kill everybody and everything and get her revenge back. So fast forward to 50 years ago, when the king of Hyben was like, okay, I got all the information, everybody come back. Amarantha's like, no, I'm gonna stay. And she had managed to infiltrate a lot of the courts and pretend that she was very sorry, and that she was, you know, she was a fan of this new treaty thing, and she was supporting the peace between humans, mortals, and fae and everything. And turns out it was all a lie. So 50 years ago, she like invited, 49 years ago, she invited all of the High Lords to a party in her place, which is under the mountain, literally under the mountain. There's a court there that she built for herself. She took them all there, and then she puts a spell on the wine or something, which created a curse, started a curse. So she basically stole the powers of all the High Lords, who are very, very, very powerful, everyone in their own way. And she stole the powers from all of these High Lords and took it for herself. And because she loved Tamlin and she wanted to be with Tamlin, she put a curse on his court only. It was a masquerade, a mass ball. So that's why they're all wearing masks, because they were cursed 49 years ago. And they cannot take that off. There is a blight, they're losing power, they're losing magic, and that's the whole course. So finally, after all this time, Miss Farah figures out all of this, because finally one of the people told her, Alice told her. She realizes, okay, like, Tamlin is there, so that's where Tamlin is. He's under the mountain, he's been captured. He had to go back because the curse had 50 years. She put the curse for 50 years, or like 7 times 7 years, blah, blah, blah. And because time is up and he couldn't break the curse, now he has to go back and marry Amarantha, or like stay with her forever or something like that. So Farah's like, I'm gonna save him. I love him. I want to help him and his court. I'm gonna save him. So she travels to under the mountain. She finds Tamlin and the court, and Rhysand, the other guy. Lucian is there as well. A lot of people are there under the mountain. And Amarantha's like, who do we have here? This human girl that has no power and is just saying that she loves him. She's like, yes, I love him. Like, let him go. And Amarantha's like, well, that's not true. Human love is not true. It's weak. Because, you know, she's like having all this like revenge from her sister and the human guy. And there's like a whole conversation. And she's like, you know what? I like to play games. So I'm going to give you 3 tasks, 3 challenges. If you complete the 3 challenges, I'm going to release Tamlin. I'm going to release him back to you, and you can be happily ever after. And Farah's like, okay, but you release him and his whole court if I pass the 3 tasks. So like, yeah, we'll do that. And I'm going to put another like thing on the side. I'm going to give you a riddle. If you figure out the riddle at any point, immediately I will release Tamlin and his court. So that's like, if you want to solve the riddle, that's the one option. Otherwise, you have to do the 3 tasks. She tells her the riddle. Farah can't figure it out. She's like, no, I don't know. Okay, we're going to do the tasks. She puts her in a cell for a few days. And then here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? So the first task, it's bloody. So there is like, I don't know, have you seen Dune? Imagine like the worms from Dune, the ones with the huge mouth, right? So there is basically a huge maze under the mountain somewhere. I don't know, this place is huge. There's a huge maze, and there's a worm, a huge worm that is living there. And now I don't remember what's the goal exactly, but like I think she needs to kill the worm, something like that. It takes her a while to figure out that there is a worm, but when she does, she finally like, she tricks the worm. She's very smart, you know, and she finds a way, and she's been running and hunting for a long time, so she knows how to hunt. So she manages to kill the worm, which is amazing. You know, people are betting and everything. At some point, Lucian also helps her out, and she manages to kill the worm. She does get injured, though, at some point. Then they send her back to her cell, and she's injured, and she's delirious, and she understands that she's gonna die. And this is the point where Rhysand comes in, and she hates his guts, right? She knows that he's a bad guy. He's with Amarantha, he's helping her out. And he offers to help her, to heal her. And she's like, no. But she realizes that she's gonna die without it. So he offers her a bargain. And he says, if I heal you, you will have to spend a week with me every month in the night court after this whole thing is over. And she fights it at first, but in the end she understands that she needs to live, so she accepts it. After which she gets a full like tattoo on her arm because bargains are marked with ink in his court. I don't know, something like that. Then he takes her to the parties and whatever. She basically becomes his plaything. And you understand that he's just trying to taunt and get a rise out of Tamlin because he hates him. And every time he sees Farah with Rhysand, Tamlin is getting upset. But Tamlin, this whole time, even when Farah came in and said, I love him and you need to let him go, Tamlin is quiet next to Amarantha, not saying anything at all. You know, he's just like ignoring her, pretending that he doesn't know her. And you can see that it's because he's trying to like help, you know, he's trying to not show how much he loves her so that Amarantha won't attack her or kill her, you know, or give her more power for like more ammunition. But, you know, he's not being very nice. And like Farah's like, I love this guy. And he like doesn't even look at me or anything. So it's kind of hard. Comes the second task. Second task is, oh, I forgot to mention, Farah doesn't know how to read. She's illiterate. She was never taught. So she doesn't know how to read, but by coincidence, she doesn't think it's on purpose, but by coincidence, the second task is about reading. She needs to read a riddle and pull a lever, 1, 2, or 3, based on her answer. And if she doesn't, she's going to die horribly, and Lucian is going to die horribly as well. In the end, she doesn't know how to read. She's trying. There's fire. There's grace. A lot of tension. So she just goes for number 2, and then her arm starts to hurt, her hand starts to hurt. And she sees it's because the tattoo that she got from Rhysand has an eye on the palm. And the eye's like looking at her, blinking at her. She's like, is this Rhysand? So anyway, she goes for number 2, it starts to hurt, so she can't do it. Then she goes for number 1, starts to hurt, she doesn't do it. Goes for number 3, doesn't hurt. Okay, she pulls that one, trusts Rhysand, everything's okay. Great, she passed the second riddle. The second task. We come to the third task. And oh boy. She comes to the third task and Amarantha tells her, all you have to do is kill these 3 people, stab them in the heart. These are 3 people, innocents, you don't know them. They're all covered with the head is covered. You have to stab them. As soon as you stab the 3 of them, that's it. You pass, you can have your lovely Tamlin and I'll keep my part of the bargain. First person crying, oh no, don't kill me. She's like, I'm sorry, I have to, you know, and she's like having a really hard time, but she does it. Like, she knows that it's not just about Tamlin, it's about saving his entire court. So she does it. She stabs this guy in the heart. The second person comes out and it's a woman, and the woman's like much more composed. You know, she's just like praying and she's like, yeah, defiant, like do it. Like she's not gonna tear me down. Kills him. Third person comes out and it's Tamlin. Dun, dun, dun. So it turns out that Tamlin is the one that she has to kill. And then she turns around to the dais, to the throne, where it's Amarantha with Tamlin next to her. But turns out that it wasn't Tamlin. It was one of her servants glamoured as Tamlin. So now this is the tricky part, because she has to stab Tamlin in the heart to have Tamlin. See, Amarantha's genius. But then Farah, mortal woman that she is, she starts to think back to everything that she's heard. And she realizes, and this is spoiler of course, she realizes that Tamlin has a heart of stone. You know, because she realized, like, Amarantha wants Tamlin. She wouldn't have me kill him unless she knew that there's no way I can kill him. So she trusts her guts, she trusts her instinct, and she stabs him in the heart. And guess what? It works, because it's stone. It's a heart of stone. So he doesn't die. He just heals, and it's great. And she's like, ta-da! See, I did it. And Amarantha's like, I told you I would release them. I didn't say when. It could be in a long time. And Farah's like, no. But at this point, everything is so messy. Amarantha's just mad as hell. She starts to hit Farah. She starts to like hurt her. She's having a hard time. Rhysand is like screaming, like, no, what are you doing? And he's finally like, you know, doing something. Tamlin is also finally having some balls and, you know, fighting against it, because they all realize that Farah is about to die. You know, because Amarantha is like really hitting her, going full on. And Farah also realizes that she's about to die. And this is the moment that she realizes the solution to the riddle. So the riddle, she's like about to die and she's like, love. That is the solution to the riddle. It's love. And Amarantha's like, no! So that's it, you know, because Amarantha had said, if at any point you say the solution to the riddle, that's it. Immediately I will release them. So she says love, right? And then she dies because Amarantha cracks her spine. And then you're like, at this point, if you're like me, you're crying. You're like, what do you mean you just killed the heroine of the story? And then it shifts the focus and you can see things from Rhysand's perspective, I think. And then you can see how Tamlin finally snaps because the curse is broken, so they all gain their strength back. Oh, I forgot to say this. Yeah, so Rhysand was all this time trying to rattle and like shake Tamlin because he knew that Tamlin is the only one that has enough power, like enough brute strength to kill Amarantha, because if he gets mad, he can kill her just with his hands, right? Because Rhysand is all about the mind power, but Tamlin is a brute force. So that's why he was trying to upset him all this time. So the curse is broken, they all get their power back, and Tamlin just smashes Amarantha and kills her, and they just kill her. Really good. And then they realize that Farah is dead. You know, this mortal woman that just sacrificed herself and saved everybody is dead. So then all the High Lords, all 7 of them, they take a kernel, a part of their power, and they drop it down to Farah's body, you know, just as a thank you, as a sign, you know, of respect, like, you know, you saved all of us. And then lo and behold, all the 7 parts put into her, she is back to life. And that's the end. And that's it. So if you want to find out what happens in book 2, just let me know. Just put in the comments and I can do that one as well. Maybe a bit longer. My favorite is the 3rd one, so maybe we get there. Thank you so much for sticking with me today. I did say spoilers alert, I think. Hope I wasn't too judgmental. I'm trying to be as unbiased and impartial as possible. But I think that's it. Thank you very much. I'm gonna read the riddle. Where is this riddle? So here's the riddle that she has to solve. There are those who seek me in a lifetime but never we meet, and those I kiss but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times, I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large, my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned, I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strikes lands a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow. I wouldn't have guessed love. Okay.